Today we're going to be talking about the Alteryx Analytics process automation platform that enables colleges and universities to benefit from a capability that converges data processing and a human-centered approach to build actionable insights to benefit their organizations. But before we get to that, let me introduce your speakers. Today we're privileged to have Emily Chase Coleman, CEO and co-founder of HAI Analytics, and Jen Cox, co-founder and COO of HAI Analytics. Emily began her career at Syracuse University almost 2 decades ago, where she created modeling strategies that fueled record applications and enrollments. Since then, Emily has worked with dozens of colleges and universities to develop data-informed strategies that help them address their biggest challenges. And Jen brings 10 plus years of research and statistical experience to her role, including the use of machine learning and AI algorithms to help institutions meet their enrollment goals. Jen has worked with over 30 higher education institutions using data to help them optimize the use of financial aid to boost enrollment and retention. And HAI does a number of analytic processes and workflows with colleges and universities, including inquiry to applicant conversion modeling, admit to enroll yield modeling and forecasting, financial aid leveraging, creating aid strategies for institutions to meet their enrollment goals, and coaching them to bring these efforts in-house, as well as retention modeling and prediction, data reporting and visualization, and working to help universities and colleges construct Alteryx workflows to enable their higher education institutions to make strategic data-informed decisions. Thank you for joining us today, Emily and Jen. Across the country and the globe, colleges and universities are facing a disruptive landscape. Even before the pandemic, many higher education institutions were facing financial challenges and increasing pressure to prove value and align academic programs with future workforce needs. The pandemic has only exacerbated these challenges and created a number of new ones. Enrollment concerns. In some cases, four-year colleges may face a loss of 20% in fall enrollment. A disrupted landscape. In Pennsylvania alone, 14 state-owned universities predict that they're going to see a $100 million shortfall. And then there's ongoing risks to student and faculty engagement. We're just going to a virtual environment doesn't provide the same level of satisfaction and instruction that face-to-face instruction would. So to address these challenges and others, colleges and universities are going to need to elevate their analytics capabilities to create new models, analyze new sets of data, and create new levels of insight to navigate the disruption effectively. Today, Emily and Jen will highlight a use case around enrollment management and showcase how analytics can enable colleges and universities to develop the insight they need to adapt to this disruptive environment using the Alteryx Analytics platform. So I'm just going to turn it over now to Emily.
Okay.
Take it away.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here talking to you today. This is my 18th admission cycle working in higher ed. And the first 17 I thought were stressful. But obviously, they pale in comparison to what's happening this year. This year, schools are facing unprecedented challenges. And just sort of more uncertainty than normal about where things will stand in the fall, both in terms of new student and continuing student enrollment. With all of that uncertainty, it's now more important than ever that you all have easy access to your data, reports, and models that will keep you as informed as possible, so that you can track numbers in real time and react to any red flags you're seeing as soon as they appear. By using advanced analytics and reporting, you can predict new student enrollment for the fall and mitigate melt. Of course, this year, models have sort of been turned upside down given everything that's happening. But if you at least know in normal years what the factors are that are most predictive of yield or enrollment, and how outside, if you have historical data and you can look at years where outside factors have changed, it puts you in a better position to be able to respond and be successful in a cycle like this one. Advanced analytics can also help you improve student retention by identifying which students are most vulnerable and prioritizing your outreach to those students. It allows you to consolidate and track data to forecast financial outlooks and set realistic budgets. And finally, advanced analytics allow you to create data-informed strategies that will improve both institutional outcomes as well as student outcomes. So with the right reporting tools, you really can make your data work for you. And the Alteryx APA platform allows you to quickly and easily merge and manipulate different data sources, create custom reports that can be updated with the click of a button so that you always have, real-time numbers. It integrates with Tableau so that you can visualize your data on in a real-time basis. It allows you to automate reporting and free up time for more important tasks. So too often we talk to schools where the IR office may have a person whose full-time job is to respond to iPads. And, this is a task that doesn't change from year to year, and it really is one that can be automated and, free up that staff time for research that really is more strategic in nature and will help your institution move forward. The Alteryx APA platform allows you to build and run sophisticated predictive models. And with it, you always know where your numbers stand so that you can address pain points, as I said, with agility. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jen, and Jen is going to walk us through a use case using the Alteryx platform.
Great, thank you, Emily. I'm just pulling up my screen right now, and I'm an Alteryx designer. And just to give you a quick overview of what we're looking at, this is a workflow that we have built. And all of these icons that you see here are some of the tools that are available in the platform. And, there are a lot of tools at your disposal, and each tool can be configured to manipulate the data in any way that you so desire. So this workflow, we'll go through it in detail, and what it's built to do is predict first to second year retention at an institution. And so we'll predict retention of an enrolling pool, and then we'll also test ways in which that we can improve the retention by offering additional financial aid to students in light of what, everything that's going on. So we start in this workflow first by pulling in a few data sets, the first being student level data. And you can always sort of see a snapshot of what that looks like at the bottom here. And these are student records and containing admissions and financial aid data. So we have what the student has received in financial aid, the net cost, and then demographics of interest that may be relevant to the analysis. We also are pulling in geodemographic data, two main sources being the U.S. Census data and then from the Experian database, giving us neighborhood data and lifestyle financial factors that will improve our ability to predict the behavior of the population. We're also pulling in a retention model. So it's a statistical model that we built in another workflow within Alteryx Designer, and it's built just like any other predictive model. It's based on historical years of, in this case, enrollment and retention data. And it's multivariate. So, based on where a student stands on each factor in the model will provide a probability for retention for each student, and we can also use that to forecast the retention of the entire pool. And so we'll use that embedded model throughout this workflow here. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see better. So I mentioned that we will be testing ways in which we can improve the retention among students, and we have three scenarios here. So the first scenario being no adjustment to aid. What do we expect to happen as it relates to retention, and what will the pool look like? And then we have two adjustments. One is a blanket $2,000 aid increase to all students. So we're going to adjust their aid and run those students through the same model to see what that $2,000 does. What does it cost, and how many students will it help to retain? And then the third scenario is a more focused adjustment where we apply $4,000, so a larger amount of financial support than the previous scenario, but we focused it strategically to a smaller pool of students. So here we're targeting the 20% of the pool least likely to retain. And we've identified those students through the model, and then we are going to give those students who are sort of most vulnerable an amount of aid that will hopefully help. And so we'll see the impact of each of those scenarios as we sort of follow through the workflow. Just a little bit of detail of how we made this adjustment. So anytime you click on a tool, that tool can be configured to do what you would like it to do. In this case, this is a formula tool. And so we can create new variables or new columns within the data. I've created a variable called adjustment, and that's the $2,000 that I'm applying in this scenario. And then we can also edit existing fields of data. So I have the actual institutional aid that the student was awarded, and then I'm adding that new adjustment variable to that so that everyone will have that adjustment applied correctly, and then we run the students through the model. So here this is the scoring tool, and what this will do is it will provide, I'll just scroll to the end of the data. It has added two fields or two columns to the data, and you can't see the full name of these variables, but this first one, the one to the far right, is the probability that the student will retain, and next to that is the probability that they will not. And of course, it's on a scale from 0 to 1. So we have some students that are really likely to remain enrolled, and then we have other students that are not quite as likely. And so that can be really useful, just this information alone, in how we think about reaching out to students just to provide a little bit of guidance to them. So as I mentioned, we'll sort of run the students through each model, and then we will aggregate that data together. We have various tools here, and just in the interest of time, we won't go through every single one of them. But basically what we're doing in this phase of the workflow is we're parsing and restructuring the data in a more consumable format so that the insights are accessible to various audiences that will sort of review the data to make some decisions. And then we have some tools here designed to create some specific output that we like to see. So we'll use sort of the model output to create a table report and a PDF report. And I'll show you just what that looks like. I'm opening up the report that we've created. And here we're showing the outcome or the potential impact of each of these adjustments. So if you look on the left column, we're looking at some metrics of interest. So how many students we might expect to retain, a retention rate, measures of academic quality, demographic factors. This would vary, of course, from one institution to the next and could be customizable. And then we have financial factors, the demonstrated financial need of students, the institutional aid, discount rate, and the tuition and fees revenue. So the first column here of data is, it's not a model projection, it's actually just showing what would happen if 100% of students retained from the first to second year. We know that's not a likely scenario, but it's useful just for comparison purposes. So for 1,128 enrolling students, as I said, we're sort of forcing in a retention rate of 100%. And we can see the tuition and fees revenue on that pool of $31 million, roughly. The next column is actually using the model to project the retention on the pool should no intervention take place. And the model is telling us that 919 students would enroll, so we do see a loss of students as expected. Retention rate is 81.5%. We can sort of get a glimpse into the composition of the pool, and then we see $22.6 million of net tuition and fees revenue in year 2. So of course, when we're losing students, we're also losing a bit in revenue. And then we have our two adjustments that we tested. The first being that blanket $2,000 increase to every student's financial aid. And that helps us bring in or retain a few additional students. So that's 8 more students. It, of course, improves the retention rate. and the net tuition and fees revenue is $21.1 million roughly. So, that does represent an investment, but it will help to keep some students beyond what we would have expected without any intervention. And then the final scenario here being that $4,000 strategic focused adjustment on the 20% of the pool most likely to not return, or the most at risk of attrition. So in that scenario, we see a few more students able to retain. That's 933, a difference of 14, the retention rate of 82.7%, and discount rate of 56.9, and tuition and fees revenue of $22.7 million. So that's slightly above what we would expect with no intervention. And of course, that this doesn't take into account, if you're a four-year institution, how those additional students would positively contribute to net tuition and fees revenue over several years. So this can be really useful, if you are thinking about any kind of adjustment. It's a really useful way to forecast, the impact of those dollars and help you figure out exactly how and where you would make adjustments. But even if you're not, it's really useful in being able to, just for planning and budgeting purposes, understand where you may be come the fall. We also turned this workflow into an analytic application, which is a feature in Alteryx Designer. And I'll just run that as an app to show you some of the capabilities. So I basically prompted the user, if someone had access to this, to enter the additional institutional aid that you're looking to offer. And basically what this is going to do, the value that is input here, will replace this $4,000 increase. So if I enter in 6,500, let's say, making a permanent change. You don't have to go into the tool itself and change that adjustment amount. So it'll take a second to run, and then it's going to render the same PDF report that we just looked at. So now we can see the same report. Instead, this last column has been updated with the new adjustment amount of 6,500, and we can see the gains in headcount and as well as the revenue and the composition of the pool. So, there might be additional opportunities to help the more students retain and, have it be in a way that would be mutually beneficial for the institution. And so, this is one just example use case as it relates to retention, but we also do this very often with yield modeling and financial aid optimization, and allow clients and help them to sort of become self-sufficient in how they project and use models in the future. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Andy.
Hey, thank you very much, Jen, Emily. Great stuff. I think, the demo, showed only a small part of the Alteryx platform. And it was just, applied to one specific use case. But we know for colleges and universities, we know there are other critical use cases, such as managing net tuition revenue, overall budget management, student engagement, and academic alignment, just to name a few. The Alteryx Analytics Process Automation Platform is the perfect partner to help colleges and universities tackle their biggest analytics challenges through the convergence of data, process, and people. The platform capability with its ability to automate the input of data from hundreds of different sources and formats, and the ability to automate the prep, blend, and analysis of data, including the application of advanced analytics with 260 plus analytic building blocks that can enable every level of data worker to enrich their analysis with geospatial, predictive, and machine learning capabilities in a code-free or code-friendly environment. And finally, the Alteryx platform enables the sharing of analysis and enhances the ability to collaborate around actionable insight with the platform's ability to output to numerous reporting and visualization platforms. In summary, the Alteryx APA platform enables higher education organizations to experience the benefits of a unified analytics platform, a self-service, human-centered platform that upskills every data worker, and an active and robust user-driven community to share learning and solve problems, and a proven capability that is helping colleges and universities solve their greatest data challenges. In this period of disruption, Alteryx, through our Together We Solve initiative, has extended the availability of analytics support through our virtual solution center, where users can schedule and receive free support from our engineering and technical teams. And I think what I'm really most proud of as an Alteryx associate is that, most importantly, in this time of disruption, we have launched the Advancing Data and Analytics Potential Together, or ADAPT program, which provides free instruction and professional analytics certification to those who are facing unemployment or other disruptions in their lives. According to our CMO, the ADAPT program is our purpose in action, and it's happening at a time when the need for skilled analysts, data workers, and problem solvers has never been more urgent. I urge you, if you're so interested, please look into these programs. You can reach out to me directly, or you can find them on Alteryx.com. We're now going to open it up for questions, but as we get ready to do that, I'm just going to turn it briefly back to Emily to talk about some of the capabilities of AI analytics.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, so we sort of already talked about some of this, but we have spent our careers building and implementing predictive models in the higher education space. We build models for every stage of the student life cycle, from prospect and inquiry all the way through to retention and graduation. We build customized models that are guided by your data and your goals. We believe in the responsible human-centered use of business intelligence. So HAI actually stands for Human and Artificial Intelligence. We use the most sophisticated statistical predictive modeling available, but we also incorporate the human element with interpretation of the model and thoughtful consideration of what is put into it. Finally, we offer services that are completely transparent. So we do full service modeling where we can build the model and just deliver the insights and recommendations to you. But we also offer a service where we can sort of teach you how to do it yourself. And using a tool like Alteryx APA, it makes it very easy for schools to become self-sufficient. So we can work with you, and sort of transition from a spot where we're building the models and the strategy, and over a couple of years' time, someone on your staff is able to do it internally.
Great. Thanks, Emily. So we're going to open up to questions and answers, or the question and answer session. So if you do have a question, please submit it. We had a few that have come in. So Emily or Jen, from your perspective, what's the biggest challenge you see with colleges and universities building a more robust analytics culture?
I would say that the biggest challenge that we see is just in being able to produce clean and reliable data, to be able to merge different data sets. So, the easiest part, ironically, becomes these really sophisticated statistical models that we build. But so often we see colleges where, data still exists in silos and one department doesn't have access to another department's data. People store things differently. They're not able to sort of easily query it and clean up their data. So that often becomes the biggest part of a project that we're doing in terms of a predictive modeling project. And again, the Alteryx platform is really useful in that situation as well.
Great, thank you. So another question that's come in is, is there a time in your experience, where colleges and universities that you were working with had an aha moment, with analytics, and what were some of the outcomes of that?
Yeah, I would say that we definitely have seen a lot of those moments. And, a lot of times when we start to work with a college, what they're doing before we get there is they're doing sort of univariate descriptive statistics. So They may know that, certain students from a certain area yield higher, or men yield higher than women. They can sort of describe everything on a one-dimension level. And when we start to employ multivariate modeling and look at the interactions between factors, we'll often see that something that seemed like it was a significant driver of the behavior actually is just serving as a proxy to some other factor. And when we can put everything in a model, we can sort of see the independent effects. So just to give a real example of that, there was a school that we worked with where the yield for their in-state students was higher than the yield for out-of-state students, and this is true for most schools. But so the belief was that, that was due to a distance issue, that students wanted to stay closer to home. But we realized when we put distance in the model with financial aid, it was actually more attributable to the fact that in-state students got, more financial aid, more state aid for staying in state. So that was kind of the driving factor, and that was definitely surprising for a school that had long believed that it was distance that was the driving factor.
Great, thank you. So we did get a question. Another question came in. Can we name some of your clients? I can name some that are publicly available. For instance, University of Dayton. We do some work, obviously, the Indiana University system. Those are publicly available references that are in our Alteryx community. So if you want to take a look at them. And then, of course, we can share with others in one-on-one discussions, other clients that we're working with. Arizona State is another one that we do a lot of work with from Alteryx perspective. And I don't know, Emily or Jen, if you want to share a couple of yours.
Yeah, we don't tend to do that. Our clients tend to, like to be a little bit more private about it, but we're happy to have follow-up conversations with anyone. And of course, we can provide references and talk about our client work in that way.
Yeah, so please, if anyone's interested, please follow up. And obviously we could share more information on a one-on-one discussion. The last question that we have, just based on time, is that how easy is it to start with Alteryx? I'm going to take that one. If you're new to Alteryx, and we do have a 30-day trial, you can visit the resource list on the left side of your screen to get started. We've included a link to our public sector starter kit to get you going, which includes sample data sets. And I'll urge you to look, to the Alteryx community as well. We have free online training sessions to up-level your designer skills, and you can also ask questions and interact with your fellow community of users. And again, too, we do have our virtual solution center. So if you're interested, we can also arrange to have you talk to our technical teams as well to get you started. But please reach out. We look forward to hosting more of these virtual use case sessions, showcasing the power of the Alteryx platform. And we hope this webinar has added value to your day. Please share your feedback in our post-session email survey. I would very much like to thank Emily and Jen for joining us today, for providing their insights around this important topic. And please let us know if this webinar was useful. Hopefully it was, and we welcome your feedback. So I'm going to close the call. Thank you very much, everyone.